everyone! Welcome back to my channel. I know it's been months since I've posted my last video. I started a new full-time job and I'm still trying to balance my work life with also my creating of content. One of my goals for this year is to get more consistent and keep putting out awesome content, of course, for you guys. This video today is actually piggybacking on my very first spackle DIY art piece. I have gotten so much amazing feedback and great support on that video, and I posted that back in like June or July, and it's just really cool to see how so many people have enjoyed it. If you did watch my first DIY art video, you saw that towards the end I was kind of questioning whether the piece worked on the wall or not. I actually did take some of your suggestions and try flipping it to put it on landscape to fit up more of the wall, and that did help, but I still felt that it was a little bit too small. Once I decided that I did want to make a bigger piece for the living room, I also wanted to challenge myself and see if I could find products for you guys that were even more affordable, and I'm happy to report that I did, and I filmed it all, every step of the way, everything that I used. And if you haven't been able to tell already, here is the piece right behind me. I actually have it propped up on a stool right now just so you can get the whole picture. I know that it is a little bit hard to see all of the details on camera right now, and this piece is actually slightly different because I did use different products, I tried different techniques. So if that all sounds good to you and you're still interested in seeing how I created this abstract art piece for my place, then please follow along, keep watching, and let's just get right into it. So this is the canvas I ended up using. I actually found this at Ross for only $12. The price was amazing. The quality isn't the best, but we were going for more budget friendly. I also picked up these two texture mediums from Michaels. They're both by the brand Artist Loft. So I started out with this white gesso. Compared to spackle, this is more liquidy, almost a paint-like texture. And I got this idea to use a glove like I'm doing in the video actually on Pinterest. I saw this artist who was doing this type of technique, and I really don't know if he was using gesso or something else, but I really liked how his looked. Unfortunately, mine didn't come out as well as his. I think my glove was too big, it was loose and falling off my fingers, but this technique worked really well just for spreading that first layer of gesso onto the canvas. And I did start to add paint into the next layers of gesso that I used, and I knew it wouldn't be as big of a deal that I didn't initially do that because I was still spreading it around with different joint knives and I knew it would eventually mix. So at this point I just kept layering the gesso and making strokes that I think would look good, giving it some texture, making like certain patterns. I really didn't know what I was doing. I always go into these projects with like a plan in mind, and then when I'm actually working with it, I just do whatever I want, whatever I think looks good, and just go with it. So this is how the piece looked right when I finished. I did use the whole container of gesso, and in the future, I think I would just repeat this process until I was happy with how it looked dry. So this piece has been drying for 2 days, and I still feel like it's not 100% dry. These thicker areas right here do still feel slightly wet. I feel like the top maybe is dry, but the inside of those pieces are still kind of on the wet side, but you can see here that the piece has really settled and smoothed out. And I'm gonna go over this to add a bit more with this modeling paste. There we go. This modeling paste by Artist Loft, it's the same brand that this gesso was also. I've never used this before, so I'm hoping that this way of me doing the gesso first and then this on top, it will stick. So I just went straight onto the dried canvas with the modeling paste, using basically the same techniques as before. The main difference, of course, is the switch in product. As you can see, the modeling paste is thicker, easier to form in my opinion. Once you shape it into a place, it's not gonna move or spread or fall. Like, it really is more like clay compared to the gesso, which was a lot more liquidy. I kept having to move it, it was more fluid. Also visually, the paste is obviously gray, and I did want this piece to be all white. I was hoping that it would dry white, but I was also prepared to paint over it if it didn't. So at this point, I was really just focusing on adding more textured areas, especially to the places where the gesso really flattened out. So I ended up letting the piece just fully dry over the weekend, and I'm a little bit bummed because the modeling paste did dry this gray color. I am gonna go over and paint everything. I'm gonna mix the same colors that I did for the back, paint this all over, and then let it dry, and we will be done. It's definitely like a harder feel, not as like foamy and spongy as the spackle was, which I actually like. Even though this is a different look from my first piece that I made, I actually do really like how this product dried and how it was thicker and easier to work with in my opinion. So I think once this is painted, it will definitely look perfect. This part is pretty self-explanatory. I'm just going over the whole piece, giving it a good coat, making sure all of those gray molding pasted areas were covered. I just mixed a plain white with a color called vanilla, which was basically an off-white. You can kind of see the difference when I'm painting, but when it was all finished, you really couldn't tell. You really don't have to paint over these pieces, but I feel like it just gives it a nice kind of uniform finished look all the way through, and that's why I did it. Okay, so I thought I would show how this piece has dried so far. I just used this kind of cheap acrylic paint that I got from Michael's, and this was the outcome. So this didn't happen the first time, and I personally don't like the way that it looks. I feel like it looks kind of cheap and just probably won't last long with it like being on the wall and it having sunlight exposed to it. So I think I'm gonna go over this with some wall paint, something a little bit more heavy duty. I did also dilute this acrylic paint, so maybe that's where I went wrong. There was like too much water, but I'm just gonna go over it one last time with some of that other paint, and hopefully it will fix this issue. This is the paint that I'm going to use instead. It's this interior paint that has primer in it. It's just like a flat white, and I actually got this on sale at Lowe's, so it was $8 for this 31 fluid ounce. So let's hope that this will fix these cracks, and then this will be good to go. And here's how the piece looked dried in the studio with natural lighting. You can tell all of the cracks were sealed and covered, and it really helped kind of smooth everything out and mattify it. Kind of reminded me of how makeup works, since the paint had primer in it as well. And finally, here's the finished product back up on the wall in its rightful place above my couch. I'm honestly so glad I decided to remake this piece, especially since I did it for under $50. So I will make sure that all of the products I used are linked in the description below. And if you made it this far, I just want to say thank you so much for watching. If you try this at home, please tag me because I'd love to see what you make. I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I did making it. And until next time, I'll catch you guys later.